The human fleet moved slowly through deep space, like broken boats on a dark sea. Long ago the 12 colonies had burned. Cities were gone. Skies were silent. What remained of humanity now lived inside old ships, damaged ships, and ships never meant to carry families. Metal halls had become homes. Engine rooms had become schools. Cargo bays held people instead of supplies. Commander Paul Harris stood on the command deck of the lead ship, watching stars drift past the main screen. He was not young anymore. Lines crossed his face and his hair was turning gray. He had once commanded powerful fleets with clear orders and full fuel tanks. Now he commanded hope, thin and fragile. Fuel was always the first problem. Every jump through space cost more than the fleet could spare. Some ships had to be towed. Others were left behind, empty and silent, because there was no fuel to save them. Each loss felt like losing a limb. Paul knew every ship by name. When one was gone he felt it. Food was the second problem. Rations grew smaller each week. People complained but not loudly. They understood. Farmers now worked in small green rooms under weak lights, growing plants in trays. Children helped water them. Old soldiers learned how to fix pipes and clean air filters. Everyone did something. No one was useless. Far away, hidden in the dark, alien scouts followed the fleet. The aliens did not need to speak to each other. Their machines shared thought faster than sound. To them, the humans were already dead. A species without a home, without industry, without numbers. Their records were clear. No species survived this long after total loss. It was only a matter of time. The alien ships stayed distant, watching, measuring, waiting. Inside the human fleet, trouble came often. One day, a power failure hit 3 ships at once. Lights went out. Air systems slowed. Panic began to rise like smoke. But before fear could spread, people acted. Engineers ran through dark halls with tools. Medics moved patients by hand. Pilots shut down non-essential systems to save energy. No single order fixed the problem. Many small actions did. Paul watched reports come in one by one. He did not shout. He did not give long speeches. He trusted his people. When the lights came back on, the fleet was still alive. Another day, a water recycler failed on a civilian ship. Without it, hundreds would suffer. Instead of waiting for command approval, nearby ships sent spare parts. A mechanic named Mark Lewis crossed between ships in a suit, carrying valves and filters on his back. He was not famous. He was not important on any chart. But without him, many would have died. The aliens recorded this event with mild interest. Temporary delay, their system noted. Failure still expected. Paul Harris often walked the lower decks at night. He did this not to be seen but to see. He spoke with families, with pilots, with tired workers who slept near engines because it was warm there. He listened more than he talked. He learned which ship needed help, which crew was breaking, which child was scared. Fear was everywhere, but it was quiet fear. Humans had learned not to waste energy screaming at the dark. One evening, alarms sounded again. A navigation error sent 2 ships drifting off course after a jump. Their engines were weak. They would not make the next jump alone. Protocol said to abandon one. The fleet could not tow both. Paul stood still for a long moment. Then he broke protocol. He ordered the fleet to slow down. He ordered 3 ships to share towing duty, even though it would strain their engines. Engineers argued, but they tried. Pilots adjusted paths again and again. The jump took longer. It was dangerous. But it worked. No ship was lost. The aliens watched this closely. This is inefficient, their system noted. Emotional decision. Resources wasted. But another line appeared, one the system did not expect. Outcome, survival increased. Days later, a disease spread through one ship. Weak immune systems and close quarters made it dangerous. Medics lacked proper medicine. Instead of isolating and abandoning the ship, volunteers crossed over to help. They shared supplies. They shared risk. Some became sick. A few died. The fleet held a silent moment together. No speeches. No flags. Just quiet. Paul watched faces on the screens. Tired faces. Sad faces. Determined faces. The aliens did not understand this part. Their models did not include shared grief as strength. Fuel ran low again. The fleet had to choose a risky route through unstable space. Charts were old. Sensors were weak. But staying still meant death. The jump shook ships badly. Hulls cracked. One engine exploded. Fires burned. People fought the fires with bare hands and shared oxygen masks. They sealed doors, lost sections, saved lives. When it was over, the fleet was damaged but moving. The aliens recalculated again. Probability of extinction adjusted, the system said. Not low, but no longer certain. Paul Harris looked out at the stars once more. He did not know the aliens were there. He did not know he was being studied. He only knew that tomorrow would bring another problem, another loss, another choice. He also knew something else. As long as humans shared the load, as long as they helped instead of competing, as long as they chose each other over rules, they would keep moving. The fleet drifted on through the dark. And for the first time, the aliens were no longer sure humanity would die. The human fleet moved forward, but each day made survival harder. Food was now the greatest worry. Storage rooms were nearly empty. Old supply ships had been lost during earlier jumps. What remained was counted again and again, measured down to the last packet. People ate slowly. No one wasted crumbs. Children learned early that food was shared, not owned. A meal was never just for one person. It was for everyone. Mark Lewis worked deep inside one of the engineering ships. His hands were always dirty. Oil stained his clothes and face. He had once repaired engines and cleaned docks with full tools and spare parts. Now he worked with broken machines and parts taken from other broken machines. One morning he was called to a farming ship. The ship's main light system had failed. Without light the plants would die. Without plants the fleet would starve faster. The system was old and the control unit had burned out. There was no replacement. Mark stood in the narrow farming bay and looked around. Rows of green plants wilted under weak emergency lights. The air smelled damp and tired. "This won't last long," someone said quietly. Mark nodded. He did not panic. He never did. He knelt and opened the panel with a small hand tool. Inside, wires were melted. Circuits were cracked. He shook his head. "We can't fix this the normal way." Medic Anna Brooks stood nearby. She had come because several workers had collapsed from hunger and stress. She was calm even when others were afraid. Her voice was soft, but people listened. "What if we don't fix it the normal way?" she asked. Mark looked at her. "What do you mean?" Anna pointed to medical lamps stored in the corner. "These use steady light. It's not perfect, but plants don't need perfect. They need enough." Mark thought for a moment. Then he smiled. They worked together. Engineers, medics, farmers. They rewired medical lamps into the farming racks. It was slow work. The light was weaker and uneven. But the plants stayed alive. The aliens observed this event carefully. "This is not optimal," their system recorded. "Improvised solutions reduce efficiency." But again the result did not match the prediction. The plants lived. Food shortages grew worse as days passed. Some ships had more, others less. Instead of guarding supplies, crews shared them. Pilots traded tools for food. Farmers taught soldiers how to grow algae. Medics taught engineers how to spot early signs of sickness. Skills moved freely through the fleet. The aliens found this confusing. Their own systems were strict. Each unit had one role. Sharing roles caused failure in their history. But humans seemed to grow stronger by doing this. One ship took damage during a jump. Its hull cracked near the storage area. Air leaked out slowly. It was not an emergency yet, but it would be. Mark was sent to help seal it. When he arrived, he found the ship's crew already working. They had cut metal plates from unused walls. They were sealing gaps with paste made from chemical waste and fabric. "It won't last forever," Mark said. "It doesn't need to," the crew leader replied. "Just long enough." They sealed the crack. The air held. During this work, Anna moved through the ship. She treated burns, cuts, and sickness caused by poor food. She noticed how thin people were becoming. Bones showed under skin. Eyes were tired. She spoke with Paul Harris later that day. "We need to protect the weak," she said. "Children, the sick, the old. If they fall, morale will break." Paul nodded. "What do you suggest?" "We rotate food," she said. "Not equal. Fair. Those who need more get more." This idea caused arguments at first. Some felt it was unfair. Others feared it would cause anger. But Anna did not argue loudly. She explained. She showed records. She showed how sick workers slowed repairs, how weak pilots made mistakes. Slowly, people understood. The fleet changed how it shared food. The aliens noticed another strange pattern. Human units accept reduced personal gain for group survival, the system noted. Unexpected behavior. Later, a disease spread again, worse than before. Poor food and stress weakened bodies. Medicine was limited. Anna worked without rest. She trained helpers from every ship. People learned how to care for each other. Mark helped by building simple air filters from spare parts. Cleaner air slowed the sickness. Not stopped it, but slowed it. Together they saved many lives. Some were lost. The fleet mourned quietly again. The aliens predicted collapse within weeks. Then something unexpected happened. A cargo ship found an old abandoned station drifting near a dead star. It was dangerous to approach. Radiation levels were high. But sensors showed stored supplies inside, sealed long ago. The fleet debated. Risk meant death. But hunger also meant death. Volunteers stepped forward. Mark was one of them. Anna was another. They entered the station in protective suits. Inside they found frozen food, old but usable. They worked fast, knowing time was short. Radiation alarms rang. They escaped just in time. The food was shared across the fleet. Not enough to solve everything, but enough to breathe again. The aliens adjusted their models. Collapse delayed, the system recorded. Cause? Repeated cooperation. Days turned into weeks. Survival became routine. People woke up, worked, shared, rested, and worked again. Fear did not disappear, but it no longer ruled them. Hunger was still there, but it was managed. Damage still came, but it was repaired. Humans learned each other's skills. A pilot could grow food. A farmer could patch a hull. A medic could reroute power. No one waited for perfect conditions. The aliens watched and struggled to understand. Their history taught them that pressure broke species. That scarcity caused fighting. That weakness led to collapse. Humans did not follow that path. Their survival was messy, loud, inefficient. But it worked. One alien record ended with a short line. Survival behavior repeated often enough to form pattern. Conclusion unclear. For humans, no conclusion was needed. They simply kept going. The alien probe came without warning. One moment the fleet moved quietly through space, engines low, lights dim. The next moment, alarms rang across every ship. Sensors screamed with signals never seen before. A sharp shape appeared on screens, dark and fast, moving like it already knew where to strike. The aliens had decided the time was right. The probe was not large, but it was advanced. Its weapons charged quickly. Its movements were clean and exact. It did not waste energy. It did not hesitate. It moved toward the weakest ships first. On the command deck, Paul Harris felt the ship shake as the first blast hit a supply carrier. Shields failed instantly. The carrier spun, losing power. "Launch fighters," Paul ordered. The order sounded strong, but the truth was weak. The fighters were old. Many had been repaired again and again. Some barely flew straight. They were not made to fight machines like this. Daniel Reed ran toward his fighter as alarms echoed through the hangar. He was a pilot but not a hero. He had flown cargo runs, escort duty, and training missions. He had never expected to face an alien weapon alone. His fighter's paint was scratched. One wing showed signs of old damage. The targeting system lagged by half a second. Daniel climbed into the seat and sealed the canopy. "Control, this is Reed," he said. "I'm launching." Other pilots followed. 12 fighters in total. That was all the fleet could spare. The alien probe fired again. A civilian ship took the hit. Its engines died. It drifted, helpless. "Ship 7 is lost," someone said over the channel. Daniel heard it. His chest tightened. "Not yet," he replied. The fighters spread out, not in a tight formation but loosely. They had learned this over time. Tight formations broke too easily. Loose ones survived longer. The alien probe tracked them instantly. It fired with perfect timing. One fighter exploded. Another spun out, damaged. Daniel dodged by instinct, not by plan. He cut engines, then pushed power suddenly. His fighter shook, but the blast missed him. "Don't follow patterns," he said over the channel. "Change speeds. Change direction. Don't fly straight." There was no official tactic like this. It was something pilots had learned the hard way. The alien probe adjusted. It predicted paths. It fired where the fighters should have been. But the fighters were not there. One pilot cut power completely and drifted. The probe fired where it expected movement. Missed. Another pilot flew straight toward the probe, then turned sharply at the last second. A risky move. It worked. Daniel saw the damaged civilian ship drifting closer to the probe's firing path. "Engineering, can you get any power back?" he asked. "Minimal," came the reply. "Not enough to jump." Daniel made a quick choice. "All fighters," he said. "New plan. Forget attacking. We draw fire." There was no pause. No debate. The fighters moved in close, buzzing the probe, firing small bursts, not to damage it but to get its attention. The probe turned, recalculating targets. It followed the fighters. Behind them, engineers worked fast. They rerouted power from lights, from heat, from everything not needed to survive. The damaged ship flickered back to life. The probe fired again. 2 fighters took hits. 1 pilot ejected and drifted into space. Pilot down, someone said. Daniel felt the loss, but he did not stop. The probe began to learn. It changed tactics. It stopped chasing single fighters. It fired wide, covering areas. Daniel reacted without thinking. Split, he shouted. Scatter. The fighters scattered in every direction. Some climbed. Some dropped. Some cut engines. The probe's wide shot missed most of them. For the first time, the probe hesitated. The aliens watched this closely. This unit should have collapsed, their system noted. Command structure unstable. The probe focused again, this time aiming at the command ship. Daniel saw it turn. No, he said. He pushed his fighter beyond safe limits. Warning lights flashed. The engine screamed. He fired everything he had. The shots barely scratched the probe, but they were enough. Enough to make it turn. Enough to pull fire away from the command ship. Other fighters joined him. The probe fired back. 1 fighter vanished in light. Then something strange happened. A ship thought lost earlier suddenly powered up. Its engines flared. It moved, slow but alive. The probe had marked it as destroyed. It was wrong. The ship fired its last defensive weapon. The shot hit the probe at an odd angle, damaging a sensor array. The probe's fire became less accurate. Daniel saw the opening. All units, he said. Hit it now. From all sides. This was chaos. No clean formation. No perfect timing. But it worked. Shots came from everywhere. The probe turned again and again, unable to lock onto all targets. Its predictions failed. Finally, a damaged fighter rammed one of the probe's weapon mounts. The explosion was small, but it was enough. The probe pulled back. It did not flee in panic. It withdrew carefully, slowly, recording everything. Silence returned. The fleet was damaged. Ships burned. People were lost. But the fleet lived. Daniel landed his fighter with shaking hands. He climbed out and sat on the hangar floor, breathing hard. Paul Harris watched reports come in. Losses. Damage. Survivors. He closed his eyes for a moment. Far away, alien systems updated their records. Human response inconsistent, the system recorded. Units abandoned fixed strategy. Behavior unpredictable. A new line appeared. Threat level uncertain. The human fleet moved on, wounded but alive. And for the first time, the aliens were no longer sure how to end them. The region ahead had no name. Old star maps showed only warnings. Gravity storms. Broken space. Signals that bent and vanished. The aliens avoided this place. Their records marked it as wasteful and unsafe. No clear path. No stable future. For humans, it was the only way forward. The fleet gathered at the edge of the region and slowed. Stars ahead twisted slightly as if space itself was tired. Sensors gave different readings on every ship. Numbers did not agree. Predictions failed. Navigator Emily Carter stood in the main navigation room, surrounded by screens and tired people. She was calm, but her eyes moved quickly. She had learned that no single chart was right anymore. We can't plan this alone, she said. Instead of giving orders, she called others in. Pilots. Engineers. Sensor operators. Even a few civilians who had learned star patterns by watching the sky during long nights. They argued. They disagreed. They listened. Emily placed old maps next to new sensor data. She drew paths by hand, marking danger zones with rough lines. Nothing was perfect. Everything was temporary. We try a short jump, she said. Then stop. Measure. Adjust. Some feared it was too slow. Others feared it was too risky. Paul Harris listened, then nodded. We move together, he said. No rushing. No hero jumps. The fleet entered the region. Almost at once, trouble came. A gravity surge hit the rear ships. One freighter lost control and spun. Its hull cracked under stress. 2 smaller ships collided, tearing metal and spilling air into space. Rescue teams launched without waiting for permission. Pilots flew close, matching spin, pulling survivors free. Engineers sealed breaches with foam and plates. One ship could not be saved. It was cut loose. The fleet held a quiet moment again. Emily watched the data update in real time. She saw patterns others missed. Not fixed paths but rhythms. Storms rose and fell. Gravity pulled, then relaxed. She shared this with everyone. Nothing stays the same here, she said. If we treat it like normal space, we die. The next jump was shorter. Safer. Still dangerous. A sensor ship was lost when its instruments gave false readings. Instead of hiding the mistake, the crew shared every detail. What failed, what they missed, what signs came before. Other ships adjusted their systems. Filters changed. Algorithms were ignored in favor of human judgment. The aliens watched all of this. This region causes fear, their system recorded. Expected response, withdrawal. But humans did not withdraw. Fear spread through the fleet, but it did not freeze them. It pushed them to talk more, to argue harder, to double-check everything. Emily held open debates before every jump. No voice was too small. A junior technician once pointed out a slight delay between sensor spikes and gravity shifts. That detail saved 3 ships later. Losses still came. A medical transport vanished during a jump. No wreckage. No signal. Just gone. The fleet mourned. Then they changed jump timing. Lessons moved faster than grief. Supplies ran low again. Engines overheated. Sleep became rare. But coordination improved. Ships shared real-time data. Pilots called out dangers before orders came. Civilians helped watch sensors. Children learned which lights meant trouble. The region pushed back, but humans pushed through. The aliens adjusted their models again and again. Fear response deviates, the system noted. Human units display increased cooperation under stress. The aliens had learned long ago to avoid places like this. Their systems required control and predictability. Where none existed, they withdrew. Humans did not need certainty. They needed each other. One final storm blocked the path out. It was the worst yet. Space twisted violently. Energy surged. Emily studied the screens, then looked at the people around her. "We go now," she said. "Or we stay and lose everything." There was no guarantee. The fleet jumped. The storm tore at them. Ships shook. Systems failed. Screams filled channels. But they had learned. Crews reacted without orders. Power was cut and restored at the right moments. Pilots adjusted mid-jump. Engineers braced systems by hand. When space finally settled, the fleet emerged on the other side. Damaged. Fewer. Alive. Behind them, alien sensors lost contact. Alien observers reviewed the data in silence. Fear did not stop them, the system recorded. It refined them. The human fleet moved on, carrying scars, knowledge, and something the aliens did not understand. Courage shaped by fear. Not broken by it. The stars ahead were calm. After the chaos of the dangerous region, space felt wide and quiet again. Sensors stabilized. Gravity held steady. Engines no longer screamed in protest. The fleet slowed, not from fear but from relief. One by one, ships checked in. Damaged but working. Fewer voices but living ones. Then something important happened. Alien signals vanished. Long-range sensors searched again and again. No tracking beams. No hidden probes. No watching eyes. The fleet had passed beyond the range the aliens were willing to follow. For the first time in a long while, humans were alone. On distant alien stations, systems reviewed the final data. Models ran through endless cycles. Predictions failed to reach a clean ending. A record was updated. Human species, it read. Status, extinction unlikely. It was not praise. It was not fear. It was confusion. Within the fleet, life did not pause to celebrate. There were repairs to make. Injuries to treat. Names to record and remember. Survival had never been dramatic. It was quiet work done every day. Commander Paul Harris stood alone on the command deck. The main screen showed a field of stars, steady and distant. He rested his hands on the railing and breathed slowly. He thought of the colonies. He thought of ships lost, of people buried in space with no marker but memory. He thought of choices made when no good options existed. Humans had not survived because they were faster. Not because they had better weapons. Not because they were smarter than their enemies. They survived because they refused to stop. In the weeks that followed, the fleet began to change. Emergency rules became habits. Shared leadership became normal. No one waited for perfect orders anymore. People trusted judgment over systems, experience over models. Children studied navigation. Pilots learned medicine. Engineers learned farming. Everyone knew that knowledge kept them alive. Paul watched this with quiet pride. He did not lead with speeches. He led by allowing space for others to lead. Emily Carter trained new navigators using stories, not charts. Mark Lewis taught repair by feel, not manuals. Anna Brooks built health teams that crossed ship lines. Survival was no longer a crisis. It was a way of life. The fleet plotted a slow path forward, not toward any promised world, but toward open space where choices remained possible. They avoided rushing. They avoided repeating old mistakes. Paul knew they might never find a new home. That did not matter as much as it once had. Humanity was not a place. It was a decision made again and again. One evening, Paul stood watching the stars when a junior officer joined him. "Sir," the officer said, "do you think they'll come back?" Paul considered the question. "Maybe," he said. "But if they do, they won't find what they expect." The fleet moved on through the dark, not hiding, not fleeing, simply moving forward. Somewhere far away, alien records closed the file. Humans had broken every model. They did not grow stronger by control. They did not endure by certainty. They endured by choice. And as long as that choice remained, humanity would continue, carried quietly among the stars.